welcome. We'll do 60 minutes flow tonight. Um, yeah, kind of slow flow, kind of a bit more than yesterday, I think. So you guys can start first in cross-legged seat, like me. We'll just start with some Samavriti, this box breathing that you guys already know. So, and then we'll get onto our backs. So you can close your eyes just to arrive in the practice. I love that it's still daylight where you are here. It's so dark, so early. Okay, close your eyes. Hands can be on the knees or they can be in your lap. I like them more in my lap. Find the seat that works for you. Maybe you want to sit on a pillow and just take a few normal breaths to arrive. And then we'll exhale all together fully. So we can inhale on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continue in your own length. If you want to lengthen the sides of the box, you can do that. Tonight, I want to, because we just started a new cycle, I want to explore this space of striving and seeking into a place of symphony. This idea that whenever we take a step, an actual step forward physically, or moving into a new version of ourselves, our life, and that we can do that in a sense of articulation and integration. That we can move with full presence into a new stage and into a next step. That we can let that step ripple from not only the physical forward motion, but also into the rest of our entire presence, physically and energetically. And we'll do that by exploring more into how our hips actually are created, are working, are compiled, and what effect that has on the rest of us. So you can come to an end of your box breathing, finished a round, on and hold of the exhale. And when you're ready, you can just come lying on your back in your own time. Just take your time to get there. Good. And keep your knees bent. And find some sideward motion in the hips, right and left, tilting pelvis up and down, just to sort of gather a bit the heaviness of the pelvic floor, or the pelvis first. Breathing down into that pelvic floor, so letting the breathing come all the way down with the inhale through the through the thoracic diaphragm, and then into the pelvic diaphragm, into the pelvic floor. And then starting to use the feet to connect, so to build togetherness, to build connection from ground into feet, into the knees, through the legs, into your hips. So maybe that what helps you is some gentle forward and backward rocking, using your feet to push you along the vertical axis up and down. And focusing solely or resting with your awareness in that rippling effect that your big toe has when it touches the floor and has this momentum, this pulsation that from there travels through the feet into the knees, which are in line with your hip. Good. Very nice. And then we'll just bring the right leg to float towards the ceiling. The left leg can get long, or you can keep it bent. That's up to you. So whichever is better doable for you. For now, we'll bring the hands behind the thigh, and we'll just give ourselves a little stretch here to draw the leg close, keeping both hips, both seat bones on the ground. Good. And from there, we'll let go of the leg, and we'll just kind of let it spaghetti out through the space. So see how it motions through you and through the space. Because now, when we don't have resistance as such, so the thin air around us doesn't give us the same resistance as ground. But see if you can, when you move like this, you can feel and first and foremost, the connection from hip to knee to foot. Because when we don't have resistance, they align very naturally. So there's no way that your foot will just awkwardly twist away into a direction that the knee doesn't want to go, and vice versa. And see where that movement comes out of, from your hips, from that hip socket out through the heavy bone of your thigh, that femur that is so strong, holding a lot, into the knee that is a very fragile joint, down into the foot. And then you can bend the left knee, bring the left foot down, and the right foot comes across onto and above the left knee, just to drop out into this lying figure 4. So really let it drop away here, and use your right hand to push even that leg further away. So you can plant the hand just below the hip crease here and draw the thigh away from you. Good. And then we'll bring the left knee in towards the chest, and we'll just hug it in here, either behind the left thigh or around the left shin. Keeping the right foot flexed, like you have a resistance there, like there's something that you're pushing against. See if you can yield into the space around you, meet that space around your foot, as if it was a totally new encounter that gives some sort of rebound through the bones, through the fluids of your leg into the hips. Good. And then we'll bring the left foot back down. Right foot also, and we'll change sides. So let the right leg just get long, left leg comes in, hug it or draw it in close, hands interlaced behind the thigh. Don't forget to bring the chin to the chest so that the spine and the neck can also be flat on the floor, or towards the floor at least. Play with some flexing and pointing of the left foot to explore the spilling of movement through the leg into the hips. What happens when just your foot moves? How much impact that has even on your hip and beyond. and letting the leg go to just explore the space, either in a pain, so either just above you, or maybe it comes out to the side, and see when it comes out to the side if you can be that hip socket of yours. And you are already, all you have to do is to tune in, so we can articulate this very part of us that strives and strides forward through life. And bring the right knee into a bend and drop the left heel down and the left knee out, and again left hand here on the just below the hip onto the side. You can give it that gentle pressure. For me, that feels really nice, so I can create that space through articulation in my hip joint. What is the hip joint? Actually, we talk about it so much, but there is so much intricacies to it. So this is just part of your hip. There's so much more to that. And then bring the right knee in. Hug it close, either around the shin or the thigh. Good. Very nice. And then we'll release the foot away, hug both knees in, so you can start to rock yourself up into a seat. And from there, crossing the legs in front of us, we'll spill it forward into all fours. In your own time, getting there. You guys have to tell me if the music's too little or too loud, okay? I think your volume is different than mine. So let me know, yeah? Unmute and just let me know. Take a moment, as always, to just spill yourself into this unique version of you. Every time we strive and land into a pose, into a step, it's an entirely new version of this pose, of this step of you. You've never been that you are right now and today. And that comes with its own world of possibilities and opportunities. And come into a neutral space and just find those little pelvic tilts for a moment. We've done those before. So it's not a cat and cow, it's just your pelvis that does the same motion as a cat and cow. So it tucks in, the tailbone, tail end tucks in to just round that tail end of your spine that feeds into the hips, and then tuck it away from you towards the ceiling. So the core stays gently engaged, but without too much pressure, without too much propping. A gentle lift into the shoulders, the same. So we yield into that lift of our hands without just holding desperately. And then let those tilts spill out of the pain and into circles, so that when we send the tailbone up, we'll first bring it out to the side and then draw it in underneath and bring it out to the other side. So it's like Shakira when she does her hip wiggles on stage. Yeah, she manages to only move her hips. So see if you can articulate this part of your hip mobility and hip range of motion. When we have those moments of articulation, of body systems, of body maps, it's like playing an orchestra of unique instruments that make up the you physically and on any other level. Change circles of yours or sides of your circles. And we learn to experience consciousness, awareness through different avenues and gateways in order to play your very own music, your very own song with your orchestra. Come into the middle, neutralize and look over your right shoulder, look towards the right hips. So you're just crunching the right side, letting the left side expand somewhat without collapsing into your joints. Starting to yield again to meet the environment. Left side. Articulating those hips more than anything else. And starting to connect back into knees and into the feet while you're here. So we kind of forgot maybe about the bottom half of our legs. So see if you can push the heels into the floor. Getting a rebound from there into knees and up through the thighs, into the hips, and neutralize. Plant the hands firmly so we can lift the knees away from the floor to float. Again, meet the space around your shoulders, especially around your upper back, with trust and ease, without propping and crunching and desperately holding on. Like it's no big whoop that you're floating here. Good. Very nice. 2 more breaths. And then if you can roll over your toes, roll. Otherwise, you can tuck the toes, bring the knees down, tuck the toes, and shift it up into your downward dog. Nice. Arriving here for a few breaths. And arrival can be dynamic. So usually the downward dog isn't just you as you land first. It becomes you as you explore. Especially now if you keep that articulation of feet, knees, and hips, and the rebound. So maybe find little bounces in your knees to, if you close your eyes, that rebound isn't just a word that I say, that I tell you you feel, but that it becomes an actual felt sense. So big toes, heels, the whole feet connecting, getting energy in and sending it through, spilling it, rippling it up through the knees into the thighs and hips. And land with long legs, maybe heels touching, maybe not. Lift the upper body out. Good. And look forward. Bend the knees. Bend the knees strong and hard. So the thighs come in towards the belly. And then we'll step left foot, right foot forward into an Uttanasana, forward fold. And from the Uttanasana, we'll just find some small squats here. So walk the hands a bit forward maybe, so that we can just bend the knees to lower hips down. Now there's a full energy load in your feet, waiting to bounce up. So take that and let it ripple up to lengthen out. Forward fold. Inhale, squat forward, look forward. And exhale, lengthen out. It's just those little squats. Feet are parallel underneath your hips, supporting evenly both pelvic halves. Another 3, 2, and 1. Lengthen it out. Inhale, halfway lift, hands on the shins or on the floor. And as you are in your longest version of the legs, maybe still a bend, so you can keep the upper body also long. Taking in a stillness, yet aliveness of that track from heels to knees to hips. Your pelvic half, see if you can find them here in space. Lengthen the arms forward, core gets strong. Good. And inhale, bend the knees, sit back into a chair pose. Good, and inhale, rise, come to standing. Good. Very nice. Hands can come onto the hips or at the heart as we shift the weight into the left foot, the right foot floats and just comes out to the side where it starts to draw little circles. So again, this movement coming from navel outwards and finding its rebound in that space around you, so that the space becomes more than just air to you, that it's something that has a quality of honey or molasses. Change the circles. Good. And then we'll just bring that knee in towards the chest. Good. Exhale, we'll send it back, we'll step it back into a low lunge. Just frame the front foot, bring the back knee down. Good. Inhale, rise, arms high. Good. To find the hips from a different perspectives. So now there's this iliopsoas, the psoas, the hip flexor that runs across the entire front of your right thigh, that gets all your attention. But see what happens if you, again, flatten the back foot down strongly, rebounding through the top of your foot into that hip. So it's like you want to draw your feet together. There's a pushing sensation that rebounds. And from here, we'll rise the right knee away from the floor on the top of the right foot. Yes, hands can be on the thigh if you need to. And release it down, frame the front foot, step it back into a high plank. From here, bring the knees mat width distance down. Sit back into a child's pose. Good. And inhale, we'll ripple forward and bring chest and chin down to the floor. Good. And inhale, hips down, baby cobra. So just rolling the shoulders together. Okay. And tuck the toes. Push it back up, downward facing dog. Nice. And look forward. Bend the knees. And in this downward dog with bent knees, see if you can physically plug your femurs, your thigh bones, into the hip socket. So it's like an isometric movement of thigh bones meeting, plugging back into the depth of the hip socket. Good. You can move very deep within. You can do that. The movement doesn't just happen externally. And look forward, step. Or if you want to hop, you can, of course, hop it forward. Uttanasana, forward fold. Good. Heel toe the feet apart so they're almost mat width distance, with the toes pointing out slightly. And we'll do the same squats as before. So lower down the hips. Inhale to rise. Good. Exhale, lower down the hips. Inhale, rise the hips, but soften the front of the head down, the top of the head. Inhale. Good. Exhale. 2 more. Inhale, look forward, squat it down as low as you can. Rebound, find the rebound of the feet into hips. Now with a different stance, with opened hips. Good. And forward fold. Bring the feet parallel again in perfect alignment under your hip half. So this is your stance. This is unique for each of us. Inhale, rise, halfway lift. And you know when you're there, you know the support that you get. And rise the arms over the head. Draw the lower belly in, the ribs in towards each other. And exhale, bend the knees, chair pose. Good. And inhale, rebound from the feet through the knees into hips to lengthen out. Rise. Exhale, Tadasana. Good. Second side. Hands on the hips or at heart. Shift the weight into the right foot, the left one floats to draw circles. Good. See if you can slow it down. And see if when your leg is fully straight, the connection is easier to find. So how your femur actually fits into your hip socket. and then change circles, and maybe explore what happens if you loosen that straightness of your leg. If, like when we were lying flat, when your leg just does its own spaghetti version of this, or actually not the leg, it comes from the inside out. The leg is just the expression. Good. And then from there, we'll bring the left knee in, hug it in. Good. And exhale, send it back into a low lunge. Soften the left foot down. Good. Left knee down. Inhale, rise the arms. Good. Hands to heart. And take a moment just for arrival here to, if there is compression, see what you can do in bringing that right leg a bit further out, walking the right foot more over, so that the compression here of your thigh meeting your hips is not the limitation, but the limitation is the flexibility of your psoas here, that hip flexor. Good. Top of the left foot is connecting. Good. We're moving from the gross to the subtle, so from the more tangible into the more subtle spheres of that articulation of our being. So as I now ask you to lift the left knee, hands can come down or stay at your heart. See if that can come from somewhere else than pure force. Good. Float it away. Nice. And softly land it back down. Frame the front foot. Step it back, high plank. Good. Maybe for a moment in high plank, if you have the energy, you can play around with that pelvis tuck. So your hips floating and still having that freedom of movement, even though pinned between shoulders and heels. Good. And bring the knees mat width distance down. Sit back on the heels. This alone is another pathway of your hips expressing. Inhale, rise, chest, chin down, elbows in close, and bring the hips down. Inhale, roll it up, baby cobra. Good. And we'll bring it down. And we'll come up again. Maybe you want to roll further up this time, so into an actual cobra. But see what happens when you push the top of your feet down. Find again the draw from the feet into the knees, into the hips. So it's like your feet want to magnetize upward as well, but they're drawn into the gravity hard, but rippling, embracing, and fold it forward. Good. Tuck the toes. Push it back. Downward dog and arrive. 5 breaths here. Let it be alive. You can sway the hips. Exploring the pathway, the articulation. Stay here. Look forward. Bend the knees. And step or hop to float. Forward. Forward fold. Uttanasana. And heel toe the feet apart. Exhale, slid it down into a malasana. Hands at the heart. Good. Find some wiggling motion, right and left. Good. Softening those hips. See if you can make it smooth. Good. And then we'll bring the hands back down. Connect to earth through the feet, knees. And when you feel the ripple, the rebound from feet into earth and earth back into feet, let it flow through you like a liquid to rise the hips. Uttanasana, inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. We'll flow more now. Arms over the head. Good. And exhale, soften the hips down like they always want to be there. Like there's nothing else they ever wanted to do. Inhale to rise. Exhale, Tadasana. Good. Inhale, hands to heart or hips. Right, let the right foot float. Circle it. To, again, establish this articulation of your being into the space around. But to start to let this go further than just the leg, just the hips, to see how the whole rest of you is affected. How this integrates into a bigger whole, and bring their right foot forward and across their left thigh for a figure four. And we'll sit into a figure four squat. Flex the left foot. Good. Very nice. Bringing the hips a bit further down. Good. And then we'll come back into standing, but bring your right shin with you. Okay, let's try this again. Rise and bring it up with you. So like when we do this seated, remember? So we'll bring this shin in towards, maybe it meets your left elbow crease. Good. Nice. And then release it softly from there to step it way back again into our low lunge. Right knee down, inhale, arms rise, exhale to heart. Maybe find a little back bend to deepen the sensation in the hip flexor. Good. And exhale, hands to the thigh or at your heart to rise, float the right knee away. Good. Nice. And we'll bring the right knee back down. Tuck the back toes. And we'll float up into a high lunge. And from there, we'll just pivot both feet to the long edge of the mat. So we arrive in a goddess pose. Good. So staying low from the start. Bring the hands to the thighs like this so they can really connect here. And you can use your arms now to push into those thighs while you sink lower with the hips. So you move the femur. You connect physically from the outside into that connection of thighs to hips. Find some motion, fluid. That's all that we are, fluid. Most of us is fluid. Even the bones are made from water. Even they emerge from there. Good. Very nice. And release the hands. Inhale, reach the arms out to the side, and exhale, left underneath the right. We'll stay in goddess pose for a little bit longer. We'll draw circles, so bring the left arms out to the left, down and out, back to the right. Left side and out to the right. Last circle. Lower the hips. Connect feet, knees, hips, and release the arms when you're back up top. Take your time. I'm always ahead of you. Lengthen out and lengthen out the legs. right foot pivots gently forward so we can come into our Trikonasana. Let the hips slide. So they slide like along a plane. Left arm reaches and bring it down. Right arm high. Good. Very nice. You can bring the right hand to the base of your spine, to that tail end, that hip connector of spine to hips. And see if you can breathe into that right hand of yours once or twice. To connect to back body, the back part of hips. Good. Bend into the right knee to see what this does to the connection. Lengthen. Bend into the right knee and lengthen. 3, 2, and last one, lengthen. Good. Bring the right arm back up high, and exhale, bring it down to the left foot, pivot both feet forward for Parsvottanasana. So both feet can be on 2 different tracks so that the left hip can pivot, spin back to align, and draw the 2 feet towards each other. So they magnetize towards each other. Flex the left foot, so bringing the toes towards your left knee. Good, and inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, bring toes and upper body back down. Again, inhale, lift back out, halfway, flex the left foot and pull the left heel back. Good, and last one, fold. Inhale, halfway lift, flex the foot, pull the left heel back. Nice. And release it back down. Good, bend into the front knee. Bring the back knee down. And from here, we'll pivot. No, we'll just step it back into a high plank. Yes, good. High plank here. So, and last time we did those pelvic tilts in the high plank. See if you can now find this Shakira hip circle. So instead of just going forth and back with your pelvic tilts, see if you can bring them out to the side. Heels are strong. They're part of the game here, even though they're not moving. Change the sides. You can also do this on your knees. Good. And come to stillness. Knees mat width distance. Sink it back. Child's pose. Good. Inhale, rise. Chest and chin down to the floor. And let the hips sink. With the inhale, rise up into your cobra or baby cobra. Good. Exhale, bring it down. Good. Inhale, come into a Sphinx pose. From here, bring the arms forward. Good. And we'll bend the left knee. Good. Look over your right shoulder to see if you can see the left foot. And then we'll bring the left arm in a bit so the right arm can reach around and reach for that left foot across the body. Good. Push the right foot into the floor so it connects back into the hip. And if you can, lift the left thigh away from the floor. Good. Nice. And release. Soften everything back down into Sphinx. If you need a full release, you can do that too. Come all the way down. Otherwise, take this as an integration phase to integrate back into a whole. Hips are heavy. And then we bend the right knee. Bring it in. Look over your left shoulder to see if you can see the right foot from the edge of your eye. Left arm reaches forward and reach around. Maybe meeting that right foot in space. Right arm can come in a bit. Good. Nice. And when you're ready, lift the right foot into the left hand. So the right thigh floats away, twisting across the body. Good. And release it down. Bring the left arm back forward. Realign into Sphinx. Experiencing consciousness in that hip, foot, grounding, stepping, striving connections. And soften down. Tuck the toes. Push it up, downward facing dog. Good. Let the heels get heavy to rebound. To pour yourself into a shape that is so authentically you. Like it is what the only thing that you ever have done. And bend the knees to plug the fingers back into the hips. So let the seat bones rise. So it's a feeling that comes from your knees into the very depth of your being. It's the innermost movement that you can make. The bones are covered in a thin skin that is full of nerve endings, so you can definitely feel this. Look forward, step or float into Malasana. So feet outside the hands, and we'll just soften down. Good. Arms together, hands together, elbows meeting the knees. And create that little bit of yielding against your own body, because that's easier than the yielding against the air, which we want to get to. So if your hands meet, they meet either by hard pushing, by propping against each other, or they meet by just falling in to each other's wrists when they collapse, or they meet with grace and ease, with full consciousness, which ripples out from there into elbows and from there into your knees and into the hips, yielding into this. Bring the hands over the head and see if you can keep that sensation of yielding your entire body into the space around you, which means you're forming a new relationship. Good. And exhale, bring the hands down. Rise the hips with the next rebound from the earth. Lengthen the legs out. Bring the feet back under your pelvic halves. Forward fold. Inhale, half forward lift. Long line from your pelvic end into the crown of your head, arms over the head. And bend the knees, arms rise, chair pose. Good. And inhale, come up to Tadasana. Second side. Let the left foot float, hands at heart or hips to draw those circles, soft or with a long leg. Whatever helps you to stay in that articulation. Like you're stirring through a pot of honey that gives you that rebound. Good. And then bringing that knee in, across to sit back down into a chair with a figure four. Good. Lower your hips, let the knee drop out. Very nice. And go grab that left shin, bring it up with you into standing. Good work, yes. Maybe the left foot meets the right. Elbow crease, maybe not. But see if you can stay upright. Good. And then softly release that foot. And step it, lengthen it back into pain. And step it back, softly landing in our low lunge, left knee down. Good. Open the heart. So hands at heart. Sorry, first up into the sky. And then bring them into the heart. And then onto your side. Tuck, or no, don't tuck. Back foot is flat on the top of the foot and lift the left knee gracefully away, yielding your entire body, especially the back body, into the supportive space around you. Good. And release it back down. Tuck the toes, and we'll just pivot everything up and out so we land back into a goddess pose. Good. Bring the hands back onto the thighs so you can transfer everything down into those thighs. Good. The more upright you become, the more you lean into the back body, the more vertical this transmission of force is going to be. Good. And release. Arms out to the side. Right arm underneath the left this time. Good. And we'll do the circles out to the right side. Draw it down. Stay low. Meeting yourself in space. 2. And last one, 3. And only on your back up, softly meet me. And lengthen everything out. Arms release. Right foot pivots forward, left foot at an angle. Send the hips through space back. So they claim everything around. Right arm forward and bring it down. Good. Left hand at the sacrum. So breathe into that left hand. And see how you can physically feel that from the outside. How alive and part of your breathing your hips actually are. And start to bend into the left knee to sink the hips down and rebound upward. Trikonasana. Exhale. Left knee. Rebound. 2. And last one. Good. Open the chest. Open the arm high when you're done. And exhale, bring the left arm down. Both feet pivot forward. Maybe step them on 2 different tracks so that you now pivot the right hip back. Flex the right foot, lift halfway out. Obviously, you can always use blocks here, you guys know that. Exhale, right foot down, fold it forward. Inhale, float it out. Flex the right foot, draw it back. So the right femur plugs into that hip socket. The connection's so strong. Exhale and soften into it. Surrender to it. Inhale, one last time, rise. Flex the foot. Strong pull, but soft in nature. Good. And release it down. Good. Very nice. And from here, good. Bring the left knee down, and we'll just step it back into a high plank. Good. Last round of hip circles or whatever speaks to you most to connect even stronger. But from there, let it articulate and integrate out into a bigger whole, so that we take this experience of the unexpressed, of the new and subtle that we are just discovering, to create a bigger whole again. And bring the knees down, mat width distance, sit it back onto the heels. And let it end. Can you feel a different felt sense of gravity and space now? Maybe a softer meeting, that yielding that is so inherent to our nature. It's what we learn first when we're born as babies. We learn to yield into space because we learned to yield into water for 9 months. That's much easier. And then we grow older after being 9 months on this planet, outside the womb. we grow old and we forget, we unlearn, and we start to prop and collapse. Inhale to rise up into all fours. And from here, we'll come into a frog. So from all fours, just bringing the knees further out. You can do this in the long edge of the mat to keep your knees supported, okay? So this, especially if you have one of these nice Who's Mine mats, it's nice because they let you slide, yeah? It makes it easier. If you stick to the mat, it's a bit harder. You might have to bring one knee outside the mat and on a towel so it can slide. And then you can come onto your forearms or you stay on your hands, depending on how deep you can go. And there's no prize to be won. But make sure you don't cheat yourself out of this pose. So when we shift the hips too far back, it gets too easy. It's more like a child's pose. And when we shift them too far forward, it gets too easy. So find this sweet spot. In kiting, there's also a sweet spot on your bar. So find the sweet spot where you can challenge yourself but surrender. Good. So this symphony that we're seeking, it's all part of our larger objective to fully inhabit our body, to ideally, and in my ideal, to be present in my body at all times and operate in full embodiment in the world. So what I carry inward, I can carry outside. And with those articulation practices, we start to form a new basis of homeostasis, a place from where we can experience consciousness in a different map of our being. So now the invitation here to just take those last few breaths in the pose and in the next few poses to integrate from the rebound of feet, knees, hips into the rest of you. So now find also how connected you are still, that where the knee goes, the feet go, and where the hip goes, the knee goes. And slowly unwind, coming back onto the hands first, and inching your knees back together. Good. And from here, we'll just bring, I'll show you from the side. We'll bring the right knee forward and across the left. Or you can also bring the left behind the right, I don't care. And flip the feet out to the side so that we now can sit back into a shoelace pose. If this doesn't work for you because of external rotation of your legs, you can lengthen the bottom leg out, or you can come into Agni Stambhasana, so bring the shins on top of each other. Good. Bring the hand on both soles of the feet. Good. To create some artificial yielding. It's not artificial, but it's the yielding that's easier against your own pressure. Inhale to rise the chest. And connect stronger, feet to hands, and exhale, fold it forward. The elbows could come up to the sky. To fold, maybe your chin meeting your knee. Good. There doesn't have to be pressure much between feet and hand. It's just your connecting the ends. So you can meet yourself. Inhabit yourself fully. Good. And inhale to rise again. Bring the hands away, and we'll just swap legs. So you can just bring them forward. Bring right underneath the left. So whichever variation you've taken. Good. Bring hands to feet. Close your eyes. And when you're ready, to lift the sternum up and surrender to this. And if you keep that connection, the touch, the slight, soft meeting of hands and feet, the whole pose becomes a bit more integrated, and this is the objective. Good. And with the next inhale, rise from this. Good. Bring the legs forward and just windshield wiper them right and left. So the hands can soften to the earth behind you. The pose can now become, or this pose can now become restful, but again, observe yourself if you collapse into these shoulders here. So just because they're there for support doesn't mean we want to just fall into them. Good. And then we'll come onto the mat entirely. You can bring the hands underneath the knees for this, rise the chest. Exhale, curl round, C-curve it down. So to really give yourself another nice stretch between the shoulder blades here, and then soften spine down. Good. Nice. And from here, just bring the heels in for Setu bridge pose. So flattening the spine down, you know this by now. And then just draw the pubic bone to the navel to peel yourself away from this gravity. And now the feet connect again. They become again these wonderful integrated part of you that are not just there to carry you from step to step, but that are an expression of the unexpressed with every time we step. So that we can walk in more symphony, literally and figuratively. See if now you can do the same as we've done lying down with the hips, that you can sort of use the feet to move yourself along the vertical axis with gentle rocking forth and back. So this push and pull into the feet, how that transmits through the bones, through the muscles, the liquids, up into the hips. And from the hips, it just spreads out into your upper body, face, fingers. Good. And exhale, release the chest, the upper back down, the lower back. Beautiful. And then we'll just bring the legs to the ceiling. Option for shoulder stand, or to just stay here. If you have a block, you can bring a block, and then otherwise you can also bring the hands like this just underneath your lower back. Can have the same little effect like a block, that you take the pressure away. So yogi's choice for a gentle inversion. Good. And when you're ready, you can surrender into full Shavasana. If you have an incense to light or a jumper to put on, do that. And then just hand yourself over to gravity. Maybe with your consciousness, just follow the pathway in your legs from those magical hips down into the heels and toes. Let your next inhale connect to the words, may you be happy. Exhale, may you be healthy. Inhale, may you be safe. Exhale, and may you live with ease. Inhale, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live with ease. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. And may I live with ease. When you're ready to come out of Shavasana, you can start to bring small movements back into your body, or rest longer if you have the opportunity. Bring the knees into the chest if you're ready. And in your own time and your own way, come back to seated. And bring your hands to your heart, hands down or in Anjali Mudra. To just feel yourself one last time on the mat as a fully embodied being, living from your innermost outward, striving and striding in symphony. And speak your grace and gratitude for these teachings we get to share. And then bring your hands to your forehead to bow in a prayer for peace. In your own words or in those of